Good afternoon, my dear friends. Thank you for joining us in one more episode of Kardec After Lunch and part of spiritismstudy.org being hosted by Kardec Radio. We're very grateful for this opportunity. Let me make a couple of announcements before we start our session. So please don't forget to download the app and listen to Kardec Radio programs and podcasts. Feel free to send questions to Kardec Radio Twitter account. And remember that all of this work is done by volunteers, but there are costs associated with web and app hosting, along with broadcast and publishing. So if you're able to, be kind and donate so this work of love may continue for many years to come. God bless. Um, just to remind perhaps some people who are not aware of the intent of spiritismstudy.org and some of its initiatives is to spread and to interest others in the study, the active study of Spiritism. For that reason, among other initiatives we have, hello Mike, thank you for joining us, love you. Among other initiatives we have developed a Spirits book study aid with the permission of Kardecpedia.com, who allow us to use their translation. And basically, I went through the trouble and deleted every single answer from the questions of the Spirits book, and based on a group study that I take part on Monday nights at our local Love and Wisdom Spiritist Society of Largo, Florida. And I find that this type of study without having access to the answers is very productive because it invites you to the reflection on the answer instead of mechanically reading through the question and answers. But and those books are available for free to Spiritist societies or groups. Oh, hello, Tony Torres. Thank you for joining us. It's available for free for Spiritist societies or groups who would like to apply for a sponsorship. Of course, also those books are donated, and I am able to send a few per month. So please get a hold of us so we can provide you with some, or even just one for testing. Now, the scope of today's lecture or session will be the Medium's book. And this is the edition that I have on hand. And I suggest if you like to follow along with reading with a book, ebook, or through Kardecpedia.com online. And remember, this reading and commentary, which I'll host, I will try to interact with our audience and make sure I answer any questions, be it live or post video or post a live showing of it. But the intent of this is to interest you in the study, actual active study of one of Kardec's works, and subsequently, of course, going to the complementary works of Spiritism. But let's start. Paragraph number 33, we are on chapter 3, the methodology. Okay? And it goes like this. Nevertheless, it would not be correct to say that those who begin with only the theory lack knowledge of the object of practical observation. On the contrary, they do have such knowledge, and it carries more weight than if the phenomena were produced right in front of them. These involve the numerous occurrences of spontaneous manifestations, which we shall deal with in the following chapters. There are few persons who do not know about them or who have at least heard of them, and there are many who have experienced them without having paid proper attention to them. The theory has provided an explanation for them, and we consider such incidents to be highly important when they are supported by irrefutable testimony, since one cannot contribute any kind of preparation or connivance to them. Uh, we are on page 58. Thank you for the question, Mike. Page 58, if you happen to have this edition right here. We are in about three quarters of paragraph 33. Uh, Continuing, even if artificially produced phenomena did not exist, spontaneous ones would not fail to occur. And if Spiritism only served to explain them rationally, that would be quite enough. Thus, most of those who read beforehand report their recollections of such phenomena, which are for them a confirmation of the theory. So, understand in this paragraph how important it is to have some level of information about what you are about to witness. Of course, if you have the opportunity. So, for example, if you go study some, decide to study some field of knowledge, right? Some science. If you have the chance to have a little primer about it, let's say you go attend a lecture or something. If you have a primer about of, let's say, a science or that previously you know nothing about, you'll be much more productive for you because you will understand, perhaps to a limited extent, the reason, the consequences, the motives behind, and the background of what's going on, right? Um, Much in the same way, in the Spirit's book, a question related to the confusion of the spirit after death ask about how important is the knowledge of Spiritism. And the Spirits say it's very important for the kind of clearing up some of this confusion. We're not going to outright cancel it, but you alleviate it because we have a little bit of understanding of what to expect or how our reality will be created in accordance to our um, thoughts. Right? Paragraph number 34. From our point of view, it would be a mistake to suppose that we have ever recommended that the factual incident be neglected, since it was through such incidents that we arrived at the theory. It is true that we had to devote ourselves to an assiduous task that took several years and thousands of observations. So we make a small break here. Kardec, throughout his work, makes a point of mentioning many times that the study of Spiritism, it's not to be taken lightly. And not to say that every one of us, of course, want to be a doctor of a Spiritism or anything of like, but to me, what I consider is, at the very minimum, say, the Spirit's book. I like to call it a, a life owner's manual. No, just about every piece of appliance you buy comes with the owner's manual, right? At least, at a very minimum, you should be reading the owner's manual to understand how to make a safe and diligent use of what you have in your hands. The same, I like to believe, is the Spirit's book, and of course, that's not just Spirit's book, but the Gospel as well, and the other books of the doctrine. But as a primer, the Spirit's book, associated with the Gospel, will help you tremendously through many of the opportunities that life presents to us throughout our incarnation in order to advance ourselves morally, intellectually, and spiritually. Those opportunities are always being created. So let's take advantage of them. Uh, Oh, also, sorry, before I continue. So, and Kardec also mentioned there's one passage, I'm going to paraphrase it. So, it takes like a great amount of years to produce a mediocre doctor and three-quarters of a lifetime to produce a scholar. How can someone expect to be able to conquer, you know, the science, the philosophy, and the religious aspects of Spiritism with, let's say, what most do, not all of them, uh, one lecture a week, perhaps, at your local Spiritist society, if you happen to have one nearby, right? And um, let's, at all possible, graduate from our passive state to a more active state and be in control and increase our studies in both duration, frequency, and participation. Let's continue. However, since these incidents have served us and continue to serve us daily, it would be inconsistent on our part if we contested their importance, especially now that we have written a book to make them known. We are merely affirming the fact that apart from reason, they are not enough to lead to conviction, that a prior explanation for them, which removes prejudices and shows that they are not contrary to reason, predisposes them to be accepted. Right? So that is very much true. That the pre-explanation of some of what's about to happen, especially remember during that time, seances, which were known at the time, were spiritist mediumship sessions, were quite common. Uh, Now, without the primer, I guess, on spiritism, on what is about to happen and how and why, many viewed it as an entertainment. Right? That's how they viewed us, and it was frivolous, no exercise of curiosity. This continuing, this fact is so certain that of 10 individuals who are totally new to the matter, who watch an experimental session that followers might regard as having been quite satisfactory, 9 will live unconvinced, and perhaps a few of them will be even more skeptical than before because the experiments did not correspond to what they had expected. Now, you see how also the power of expectation. I have also, perhaps going a little bit off to the left, I have noticed this at Spiritist societies where without an initial interview of new members, uh, and even people who are already, an adept of Spiritism, let's say from Brazil, without an initial interview, trying to, I would say match because that's not always possible, but try to understand the expectations of the newcomer in that case and what the Spiritist Society is able to provide or intends on providing. Sometimes there is a mismatch, and many times, I'm pretty sure everyone has witnessed this. Someone visits a Spiritist Society never to return without a us going after the person or soliciting some type of feedback, we may never know why they haven't come back. Let me mark where we're going to be continuing next week. But I try to keep our sessions 15 minutes. Uh, I know attention span is quite limited nowadays, but I really appreciate the opportunity Kardec Radio has allowed us and all the volunteers who make Kardec Radio possible. Thank you, viewers, for your support, for sharing, for commenting, for sending questions, and all the well wishes. Uh, I would like to leave with a reminder that one-on-one study sessions are available who are conducted by our volunteers or Spiritism study, one of them being Brian Foster, of NW Spiritism in order to assist others in their Spiritism study. So thank you for being with us. Godspeed to all.